Okay, I guess that means we are starting. So, yeah, welcome to the Business of Chess Tornello seminar. We do 2 seminars a month, I think, free webinars or seminars that we put out every single month. And we're pleased to offer a range of different topics and subjects. Today's is the commercial one. Where we're going to talk about some of the business opportunities and the way that you actually run the business of chess here on Tornello. As I said, we were only expecting kind of a handful. We're just being overwhelmed with more and more people just flooding into the room as we get started. So that's great to see that that there is a lot of interest in this topic. I think it will be something that will grow in interest over time as well, because whether you're running a local club or whether you're running a commercial business for yourself or whether you're running a national federation, everybody needs to understand the business and the finance of chess tournaments and how they work, because in the end of the day, even the smallest club that's running on a break-even basis needs to be able to generate a little bit of money in order to cover its costs. So who are we and what's Tornello? In case you haven't been to one of our webinars before, Tornello is a platform for running chess tournaments, for running over the board, hybrid or online chess tournaments, all on the same platform. We were founded in 2008 as a way of running over the board chess tournaments. So back in 2008, I was running about 300 chess tournaments a year in Australia in our schools program. And I can tell you all about the business side of that as well, where we were having, it was averaging about 70 players per tournament almost every single day, about 300 tournaments through the course of the year. And the administration of that was killing us. The administration of that took, well, it was getting close to 2 people full time just to manage the administration of collecting registrations, adding the registrations to the pairings program. After the pairings were completed, at the end of the tournament, then processing those results. So we built Tornello as a management system for chess tournaments, for over the board tournaments. So we could manage all of the registration process. So as the registrations came in, people would register for the tournament, pay for the tournament, and they'd be in the pairings program straight away. Okay, Tornello then managed the actual event itself, and you just click pair next round and all the rounds go through. And then at the end of the tournament, we were looking for a way of processing tournaments for ratings. And the National Chess Federation firstly didn't have ratings for rapid tournaments in juniors, so we weren't able to do that. But even if they had, we would have had some problems because those ratings only got published every 3 months. And so, okay, now things are a little bit better in many countries where ratings are published every month, but we were running kids tournaments, and kids are not the most patient demographic in the world. And I'm not a patient person myself, I think people would attest to that. And so waiting a whole month for somebody's rating to change, for me, was just insanity. There was no way that I could wait so long. So what we were looking to do was produce ratings instantly after the tournament finished. And so that's what Tornello ended up doing as well. So we kind of managed the three phases of all chess tournaments: the registrations, the management of the event, and then the ratings, player profiles, and results archiving of those tournaments at the end. That's where the name Tornello comes from. The Torn from tournament and Elo from ratings. So we're running the tournament and producing the ratings. And there we were, Tornello. At the start of COVID, 2020, so we're now actually, 14 months in, we decided that we would also add an online game server to Tornello so that we could manage not just the process of running the tournament, but actually all the games themselves, because of course, all of our tournaments in Australia had moved to from over the board tournaments to face-to-face, to over the board, to online tournaments. So we're unique now around the world in terms of we're the only platform that is built for arbiters and organisers. It's built for what we call scheduled tournaments. All right, and I know a lot of people, and we were exactly the same. As soon as COVID came, we jumped onto the mega platforms to try and find a way of, I guess, manipulating those platforms in such a way that we could run a kind of a normal tournament. And we couldn't find a really good way of doing it, which is why we ended up, building out the game server and doing it ourselves. So all of the mega platforms are built for on-demand chess. They're built for somebody to show up and play a game of chess anytime they want. Right? It's like if you go down to the park and you have a casual game with a stranger. Right? That's exactly what the mega platforms are built for, and they do it incredibly well. Everyone would agree, though, that going down to the park and having a game with a stranger is very different from playing in a chess tournament. Now, whether that's a club championships, a state championships, a national championships, or a world championships, when you're playing in a competition, when you're playing in a tournament, then there are certain different structures. And so Tornello has built all of those structures so that we can manage all of the process of running those tournaments. And we're the only platform in the world that can manage to run tournaments in very much the same way as you would expect in an over-the-board tournament. So today we're going to try and finish on time as my main goal. Stick to an hour. I don't usually manage to do that, but we'll see how we go today. Today is mainly for organisers, coaches, streamers. I say anybody who's trying to create or curate a community. So if you have a community of players, then you need to manage that community. And in some way, you probably want to monetize that community. You want to create some revenue, whether that's for yourself as a business, whether that's for your club, or whether that's for your national federation. There has got to be some way of generating some revenue, because going onto a mega platform and playing a bunch of arena style tournaments isn't going to generate any revenue for anyone. Right? And it's fantastic, a lot of fun, everyone has a good time, but we're not actually going to turn it into a business. We're going to assume that today you know the basics of running a tournament on Tornello, and that you have maybe had some experience with Tornello before, so the basics are kind of there. If you haven't done that, Yejina's put a link to the webinars in the chat, and you can go and you can sign yourself up to some of our introductions webinars, or you can jump on YouTube and see some of our other training materials and intro sessions, and so get to know kind of how it works. From a kind of, I guess, why are we running events from a business question, right? If you're a club or a federation or any other kind of chess organization, you're running events because that is your core business. That's what you do. You're a local chess federation or a local club. That's what you do. But what if you're a coach or a streamer or someone else who's involved in chess ecosystem, but not directly as a tournament organizer yet? Why would you want to actually run a chess tournament? And there are two things that I think make events really attractive from a commercial sense. The first is that you can scale events much more easily than you can scale your private coaching business. So when you're doing private coaching, you can charge an hourly rate and you can get more and more students until eventually you have no more time in the day, right? And then that's it. You can't make any more money. You're limited by your number of hours in the day. You can try to then hire extra coaches who work for you, and you can make a small margin on their time, and you can build from there, right? So that's the long, hard way of building a coaching business. And I know I've done that. We had over 100 coaches working in 600 schools across Australia. We got, well, every week we see more than 5,000 students. It's not an easy business to run. The second thing, so in the sense of like, how do you scale? Events are really scalable. You can get 100 people or 500 people or 1,000 people playing in a chess tournament, right? They might not pay the same as what they would pay for a 1 hour lesson, but even if they only pay 10%, you only need 11 people to be making more in that hour and generating more in revenue than you would from a 1 hour, one single student. So there is some scalability in events where you can grow to a much larger base. Events also don't preclude, they don't stop you from streaming and generating all of the sorts of revenues that people are doing from streaming. So, you know, we see a lot of people out there streaming other people's tournaments, streaming themselves playing Blitz online, right? Which is great. They can generate some revenue from subscriptions and donations and everything from creating that entertainment. But why not, in addition to that sort of entertainment revenue, why not be getting entry fee revenue as well and be streaming your own tournaments and engaging your own community in playing in tournaments that is then going to be streamed back to the remainder of the community, right? So if you've got a community of people on Twitch, you know, offer a 8-player round robin tournament as you know, get to know the streamer, bring them all in, everyone pays $10 entry fee, you'll make more revenue in that streaming session from the entry fees than you will from your subscriptions for the month. The second thing that you can get out of events, which is a little bit different from many of the other opportunities in chess, is the ability to build a brand. Okay, so think about the brand of the World Championships, right? The brand of the World Championships, you know, Magnus Carlsen is the world champion and everyone wants to compete against him for that title, for that trophy of world champion. Now, the trophy itself for the World Championships is probably smaller than the trophies that I give to my kids at the local chess tournaments, but people want it more. And why do they want it more? Because the brand that's built up around it, right? You can think about all the different chess tournaments that are famous chess tournaments around the world and the brands that have been built. So you've got an opportunity to build your own brand in an event, something which will sustain itself over time. So we've got a chess tournament that we started in Australia in 1994 as a kids chess tournament. It's now called the RJ Shield, and it's named after Robert Jamison, who was my chess coach back in the days when I was young enough to be improving at chess. And so Robert helped me to win the Australian Junior Championships, and then, you know, I named the event after him, kind of as a way of you know, recognizing all that he'd done for not just me, but you know, most of the strong junior chess players in Australia. That event itself now has a brand on its own. So we have that tournament. It runs the last Sunday of every month, and it has done since 1994, give or take, in various different iterations. We've tweaked the format over time, and we've had different iterations. But even since COVID started, we were able to transition that from an over-the-board tournament to an online tournament, and everyone just came and played. So we get over 100 people coming every month. They pay an entry fee to play in that tournament. They get prizes that they qualify for the end of year finals. And there is some prestige and honor in that event. And for a long time, the prestige and honor in that event was more than, you know, like a state championship title or something like that from an official association event. So you can actually build the brand. You can build your own event, and it can become something which it doesn't really matter who's running the event. It survives over time. All right, so yeah, think about those things as why you want to run an event. Why do players want to play in an event and pay an entry fee, right? And it's really important that when you're thinking about creating your events and your event series, to understand what the people are paying for, right? Because anybody can play chess anytime, day or night, free, right? And they can play in a tournament free, right? They can play on, you know, a mega platform, and they can play, you know, all sorts of different styles of tournaments. So why are they paying an entry fee to your tournament, whatever type of tournament it is, right? And this is the difference between scheduled tournaments and on-demand tournaments. You really have to think about, this is not just something which people just come and show up to and it takes no effort. They can play anytime, day or night. They actually have to make an effort to show up. It has to be happening at a certain time of day. It has to be an arbiter involved. You know, sometimes they have to wait for the next round to start. You know, all of these things actually make it more special and more engaging and I guess when I talk about the difference between scheduled on demand, I often use music as an example, right? So anybody who's ever gone to watch a music concert, right? You pay 10, 100, even 1,000 times as much as you would for the CD or the MP3 download. It's the same music, right? But what do you get out of it that's different? And why are you prepared to pay 10, 100, 1,000 times as much as you would for downloading an MP3 or watching the same, the same exact music video on YouTube for free anytime? And yet you'll pay a fortune to go and see these things because it's an experience. Okay, the very fact that it's limited, that it only comes up once a year or once a month, makes it valuable. So you have to create an experience for your players. You have to make it different from what everybody else is doing. All right, if you just have another Titled Tuesday and there's 1,000 tournaments all around the world every Tuesday called Titled Tuesday, how are they different from each other? Who's going to play in them, right? So what can you do to make it unique, different? People like to play in tournaments because there's a community. They belong to this community, and it means something to them to engage with that community. So, for example, our RJ Shield, we have kids who are now bringing their children to the RJ Shield, and they remember playing in the RJ Shield when they were kids, right? And so time, definitely, history helps to create that community. But you can start that, you've got to start and build that over time. But you can start it today if you wanted to. All right. So what's the meaning? What's the meaning of the event? Like, RJ Shield starts with a story. It starts with Robert Jamison, my chess coach. There's a reason for that tournament. A club championship starts with a story. You're the club, you need to work out who your champion is. Right, so start with some story, tell a bit of a story, and work out, how you're going to make this this kind of an experience for players. Tornello runs online, over the board, hybrid tournaments. Okay, we do all of them, and the processes are kind of the same, whatever style of chess tournament it is that you're running. But particularly at the moment, while COVID is still, just destroying over the board tournaments all around the world. We need to think about online tournaments, and I think online tournaments are actually a real opportunity, a huge opportunity for the long run. And I think that we're going to see a lot more online tournaments even after COVID is over, and we're going to see a lot of hybrid style tournaments after COVID is over. Why will we see that? Simply because of convenience. It is just so much easier for people to show up and play in an online tournament. And as long as they get 60, 80% of the experience that they would get from an over the board tournament, then they'll forsake the other experiential aspects of the face-to-face in return for the convenience. So the convenience of the tournaments is really critical. And we saw that again with our RJ Shield tournaments that were face-to-face. It would take us ages. Like, we would take an hour to drive. We'd have to hire a venue. We'd have to set up all the tables and chairs. It's an extra 3 hours of setup and pack up time. And at the end of the day, everyone plays their 7 games of chess and they have a good time on the day. But it costs us an awful lot more in terms of time and effort and direct costs. So when we're running an online version of the RJ Shield, right, we don't have to spend hours setting up. We don't have to have equipment. We just jump on Tronello, everybody signs in, they pay their entry fees, and off they go. Now, the entry fees that they pay are about 50% of what they were paying for the face-to-face tournaments, but there's still a lot of value for the players to pay an entry fee to play in those tournaments. All right, and we would normally suggest that if you're trying to price an online tournament, you price it somewhere between 50% to 100% of what you would pay for an over-the-board tournament. We've got an organisation in New Zealand that runs chess tournaments. And again, when COVID started, they all moved to online, and they decided to charge exactly the same entry fee for online as they were for over the board, right? Despite the fact that they had no venue costs, they had no physical trophy prizes or cash prizes. It was all online, they only had to have 1 or 2 staff members instead of 3 to 5. They charged the same entry fees, and they got actually more players coming along because the convenience factor made it really much more appealing. Your expectation for players, the expectation for players is much different. The expectation for prizes for an online tournament is that there will be digital prizes, right? So we've got some examples of some presentation closing ceremonies that you can download from the Tornello website, from the Start Here page, and you can download those templates, and those prizes are usually sufficient to keep all the players excited and interested in the tournaments. Okay, if you're trying to run Grandmaster tournaments, they may expect still some cash prizes, but 99.95% of players in the world are playing chess because they enjoy and love chess, and the prizes are really not that important at all. Right? We've run, if we're running 300 tournaments with no prizes, no cash prizes, not a single cash prize in any of those tournaments for 20 years, I think that can attest to the fact that people enjoy the experience. They love playing chess, and they don't need a cash prize to necessarily play in a tournament. So you want to try and provide kind of 80% of the experience of an over-the-board tournament if you're running an online tournament. So the main things that people are looking for is to play competitive games, right? So fair play is important. Playing people at the same rating ability or similar rating abilities is important, so that it's competitive games. The social belonging aspect of it, again, that often comes with with people at around about the same either age or playing ability level, right? Not a lot of grandmasters want to play against someone with a rating of 600, right? And not a lot of 600 rated players want to play against a grandmaster, to be honest. So it goes both ways. People want to play with kind of like-minded peers, right? I enjoy playing basketball with a bunch of short, over 35-year-old men, right? I don't think I'd enjoy it as much if I was playing against 6'8", 22-year-olds who are just destroying me every time, right? Just wouldn't be as much fun. The over-the-board experience that the players are looking for gives you the opportunity for recognition, for competition, for the pride of winning, for juniors and for kids, but maybe also for a lot of adults as well. It's the ability to demonstrate that they are learning and progressing and developing over time. And so having a player profile that they can see progress happening over time is important. And the least most important thing that they're looking for is prizes. All right, so let's say you've never run an event before, you don't have an event, you want to start an event. What would you do to get going? First thing you would need is to come up with something unique, something different, some sort of story. So, I was helping some streamers who were trying to come up with an event a couple of months back. So, well, why not have a kind of a up close and personal tournament, right? Where you're a streamer, you're famous, you've got thousands of followers, and all of those followers come and watch you, but maybe they want to actually get up close and personal, interact in the same Zoom room with you. Have a tournament where you can get 16 or 32 players in a Swiss style tournament playing, 5 or 7 rounds, but they're in the same room as you. And so they've got a pretty good chance, if there's only 16 players or 30 players in the tournament, to actually get a game against you. And then you interact with them and you have, interviews and chats and conversations. And so you actually get them engaged as part of the show, right? Then maybe the winning person from each of those tournaments across the year, maybe there's 7 of those tournaments across each month, each come together and have a playoff in a round robin tournament with 8 players who also get to play against you. And the winner of that gets to, have lunch with you, in person, face to face, right? And so, this is like the prize that this person is offering is just lunch. It's next to nothing, right? But you can create a huge interest at a cascading pyramid sort of system where there might be tens of thousands of people who are prepared to play in tournaments, all for the opportunity of coming through and having lunch with you, right? If you've got some profile as a streamer. All right, maybe you don't have a profile as a streamer. Maybe you're the organizer of a local chess club and you want to run a chess tournament. So what do you do? Well, could it be a club championships? Is there a history of your club, right? Can it be that you say, well, this club started in 1975 and every year since then we've had a club championships and here's been our winners and some have been gone on to become famous chess players. And is there a story that you can tell about history? Is there a story that you can tell about something unique and different? So maybe it's a backwards chess tournament where you have to lose points instead of win points. Maybe it's a tournament which is what we call a medley, right? So you have to play 5 different styles of chess, one in each round. And one time it's take me chess, and one time it's bughouse chess, and one time it's normal chess, right? What can you do to make the event interesting and different? Because if it's just another 5-round Swiss tournament with no name, right, you can go onto a mega platform and you can play a bunch of those tournaments anytime that you want, right? And you don't have to pay for it. So make it something interesting, have a little bit of a story, try and think how you can do something unique within your community. It doesn't have to be unique around the world. So look to the Philippines. What are they doing there? Well, let's take that idea and apply that in Australia. Okay. Look to Australia. What are they doing in Australia? Let's take that and do that in Mexico. What are they doing in Turkey? How can I apply that in England? Right. So it doesn't have to be unique around the world. It has to be unique in your community. Something different for the people in your country, or even in your city, or even in your local area. Okay. Right. Once you've got an event, you get some dates. You think about your format, and what I would suggest is start small and build up. So when the Melbourne Chess Club first went online, they had a series of tournaments that they would run every single Saturday. They've got a tournament which runs every Saturday, and they wanted to move online for these Saturday tournaments. They weren't sure how it was going to work. So the first step was to say, okay, we're going to run 16 people maximum, that's it, right? They got full. As soon as they're full, now people are saying, oh, we want to get in. Okay, come next week, right? And you've created some artificial scarcity. You've created some demand where people are excited to be there because they can't get in, right? I don't know if anyone's ever started and run a nightclub, but this is the story about how you get a nightclub up and running. Is you open the nightclub, and for the first week, you have the music pumping, right? And all the lights on, and you don't let anybody in the door. And you just make everyone queue out the front, and you never let anybody in. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, that must be such a great place because we can't possibly get in. And you do that, every night for the first week. And then you let people in because now you've created some artificial scarcity, you've created demand. The queue gets longer and longer, even nobody ever gets in through the front door. All right, so start with 16 people. The next week go 32. The next week go 64. And it's better to be full than it is to be empty. All right, so how does Tronello help you run tournaments? Well, we're a fully integrated solution, right? So we start from collecting the registration fees, of player names, money, collecting all of that into Tornello, straight into your pairings program. We can manage the invoicing, manage all the payments, and you're straight away ready to run the tournament. Manage the tournament using Tornello, and then at the end, you've got all of your emails and player profiles and results coming out the other side. So Tornello will just make your life easy, right? Simple. So you can run 300 tournaments a year, which you'd never be able to do if you're collecting registrations, by bank transfer or PayPal, and you're trying to reconcile who paid, who didn't pay. It's going to take you forever. All right, so how do you turn a good event into a great event? Now, these are some examples of real things that I've done at real events. Okay, so my philosophy is 100% engagement, 100% of the time. And what that means is, I don't know if anyone's ever had tennis lessons. So let's say you're having a tennis lesson. You come to the front of the queue, you hit the tennis ball over the net, you go to the back of the queue. There's 6 people in front of you. Each of them hits a tennis ball, you stand in the queue, then you get to the front and you hit the tennis ball, right? So most of the time, you're standing in a queue, right? 12% of the time, 15% of the time, you're hitting the ball, right? This, to me, is not what you want to try and do with chess tournaments. Now, this is the beauty of chess. This is why chess is such an attractive game around the world, is that it can engage 100% of people 100% of the time, right? If you go to a judo tournament, if you go to a table tennis tournament, if you go to a badminton tournament, a tennis tournament, football, all of those things are limited by the physical resources. Like if you want to play squash or tennis, you need a court, you need rackets, you need balls, okay? And those take up quite a lot of space, right? If you're playing a judo tournament, you can have 2 people on the mat and everyone else is waiting. The chess tournament is one of the only events where everybody can play all at the same time, right? That's why chess invented the Swiss system. No other tournaments need a Swiss system because nobody else has everybody playing at the same time. So think about that. How do you engage 100% of the people 100% of the time? Now, in a Swiss tournament, everybody's engaged, right? They're all playing the first round, sort of, right? Because some of those players finish after 6 moves or 4 moves, right? And so after they finished after 4 moves, they've got to wait until the next round starts. So what are you doing in that gap between when the first players finish their game and when they get to start their next game? How are you engaging them, right? In real tournaments, we have done all of these things. We've had balloons, live music, roving magicians, fireworks, jugglers, right? This has been at real chess tournaments, right? Face-to-face tournaments. We do these sorts of things. We have other games that people can play, right? Because you've got to think about how you're going to engage everybody when there's no chess, when they're not actually physically playing that game of chess that they're there for, all right? Take a look at, your local, festivals and events that are running in the park that are organized by the community. There's food trucks, there's music, there's fireworks. Put those into your chess tournament and put those into your chess tournaments online as well, okay? Online tournaments, you've got to make it easy, right? People are just not that bright when it comes to learning something new and something they're only going to do, kind of infrequently. You're running the tournament every single day. So you're going to be an expert at Tornello, but other people are just coming once. So if you're trying to run a tournament in a different platform or in a typical situation, it's like, right, here's a website you go to register yourself. And then here's a website you go to get yourself ready for the games. And here's a different website to go to see the other players who are in the tournament. And here's another website that you can go to see the results afterwards. And here's a website you can go and check out your ratings. And there's like 15 different websites that someone's got to go to manage the tournament, and forget it, like they're not going to come, right? If you just give people just one link, that's what Tronello is trying to do. It's just one link, one web page, go to this one link, register. Same link, see all the players who are coming to the tournament. Same link, see all your pairings for the round. Same link, play your game. Same link, see your results after the tournament, your ratings, everything. Payments, same link, right? Everything you need to know, it's just that one link. Okay, we've had some people asking questions about where do you find the link, but that's another story. You just copy and paste right from the URL. What's the URL? We can't help everybody. Can you do commentary and streaming while the games are in progress, while the tournament's running? Right. We've got with our inter-school competitions in Australia. This is really popular because when the kids finish their games, they can sit in and listen to the commentary. Right. The commentary can have player interviews to make it interesting. It can have coaching so that they can learn something and improve themselves. Right. We had one tournament, which is a kind of a state level tournament, where we had one entry fee where everybody could come and play in the tournament. If you paid 50% extra, you could come into a coaching lounge and you could hear the grandmasters doing some analysis and talking about the games that were being played. If you paid double, then you could get a private coach and you would come in and they would analyze your game, not just like luck of the draw, analyzing some random game from the tournament. Right, so there's opportunities to upsell the coaching side of things, and those streamers, those commentators, can kind of become the star of the show. So you, as the arbiter, can become the star. Remember that when you're running a tournament, the tournament doesn't end at the end of the last round. Right, you have to go through a post-tournament process. This is really important. Otherwise, you're never going to have the next tournament. All right, so share your results with the players. On Tornello, that's easy. You just click one button, you say send, submit for results and send the email, done, right? think about how can you share on social media? How can you celebrate the winners, right? How can you give them more prestige, right? Because the more prestige they've got, the more excitement they've got, the more likely it is that you are going to be able to run another tournament next time, right? How do you build your database as well, right? So every time that you get players coming to your tournament, have you captured their email address, their phone number? Can you communicate with them later on and tell them about your series of tournaments and what's the next tournament, you know, whether that's the next one at the same level or whether there's a progression and they can go, you know, they played a 7-round tournament, now they want to play a 9-round tournament. They played a 10-minute tournament with just 10-minute games. Now you want them to play a 20-minute tournament or a 30-minute tournament or a, you know, classical time control tournament. So you should be planning and promoting, you know, your next event at the current event, right? I think this is, I've said this in Australia, I don't know how many times, but more than 20. Every year we have an Australian Junior Championships and it runs every year at the same time. And every year you get 200 people coming to the Australian Junior Championships playing in this tournament. And all of them, except for the ones who are 18 years old, are interested in playing next year. And not once ever has any Australian Junior Championships given out entry forms for next year and said, hey, if you come and play next year, we'll give you a 50% discount or a 10% discount, or like just come and play, like start planning now, right? And so you get churn, you just don't get people coming back. Yet every year when I go and run the Melbourne Marathon, at the end of the marathon, they're like, here's your medal, congratulations, and here's an entry form for next year. And by the way, if you pay in the next few days, you get a 50% discount, knowing that there's a pretty good chance that I'll pay my entry fee and I'm probably not going to show up. Right? There's at least 50% chance that I'm not going to show up because I'm going to get injured. I'm going to get, you know, be away. It's going to be inconvenient, whatever the case may be. So it's a good deal for the organisers. They get some certainty. They get some entry fees in now. Like, why don't chess tournaments do that more? Right? Plan for your next event and get it ready on the first one. All right. I want to show you before we get onto the questions some of the practical things in Tornello about how to actually use some of our systems to manage all of these steps in the tournament. So here we have a chess tournament. We've kind of already got it set up. We've got our 2 divisions. We've got a Jedi Open and a Sith Open, so 2 different divisions in the tournament. We've got a few pairings here. You can see the players playing against one another in the tournament. And here's our tournament for the Jedi Open. All right, we've got so this is the tournament lobby. Here's our pairings program. Okay, so let's go from the pairings program into the tournament settings and see how we've set the tournament up in order to collect registrations and get that first part of the puzzle solved, right? You need to collect registrations, get all the players' names into your tournament, and you've got to get the money from them. Okay, so we have this menu on the left-hand side, online entries, and all of these online entries, this is all the details that you need to set up to collect registrations on Tornello. So the first one, this is a pretty important one. I get a lot of questions. David, nobody can enter the tournament. I say, well, have you ticked the box to say that you're allowed to accept entries online? And they go, oh, no, we didn't. Okay, so there you go. So step 1, tick the box. It's default. Make sure you can accept entries online. You may not want to, right? You may want to run a tournament where you're not collecting registrations online. That's fine. You've got your own way of getting people. That's fine. But yeah, you want to collect entries, tick that box. Tronello is working on some more sophisticated entry forms so that you can build your own customized entry form and set what required fields and ask different questions. You know, every tournament's got some different questions that they need to ask. I know when I'm running my national schools competition, we've got an entry form which is about 60 different questions on it, all right? Because we need to know, you know, when do the players arrive at the airport? You know, where are they going to stay? Do they need lunch? Do they have any intolerances or food requirements? Like there's just a bunch of stuff that we need to know. And so we're building out all of those functionalities to help you collect more information that you need in the registration process. At the moment, there's just one extra bit of extra information you can collect, and you just it's called a comments entry field label. You just make a note of the question you want to be asked, and then the players will enter their answer to that question. So in this tournament, we've asked, what's your favorite lightsaber color? And players can just type an entry in there. You can set player limits. So a player limit is really important to keep that artificial scarcity, right? Make sure that you only let in 16 people into your tournament. So players 17 through 25 are begging to play, and you say, no, 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 play next time, right? And then they'll go out and tell all their friends, oh, that chess tournament must be awesome because we couldn't even get into play. Obviously, player limits are important if you're running over the board tournaments because you might have a certain number of tables and chairs or chess sets or physical space that you have to have 4 square meters per person or whatever the COVID rules are in your country. So you can set a limit to the number of players in the tournament, and then that will just prevent anyone else from entering. Division selection. So in a tournament here, we have 2 different divisions, the Jedi and the Sith. So 2 different divisions. Can the player choose between those 2 divisions? Or do you want everybody to just get registered into the first division as a kind of a clearinghouse or approval process, and then you manually move them to the other division? All right, so it's completely up to you how you want to deal with the registrations. You can ask everybody just to register and go into a applications division, and then you can move people manually, or you can allow people to choose their own divisions individually. Late entries, like, are you allowed to enter the tournament after the first round's been paired? Yes or no? Easy enough. All right, entry fees. So all of this section here is about money. You don't need to have an entry fee. You can just leave all this blank and collect registrations without an entry fee. In order to collect an entry fee, you do need to have a Stripe account. I'm aware that a number of people on this meeting here will have won't be able to create a Stripe account, because I know Stripe is only available in some countries around the world, and so you may be in a country where we can't support you to collect money yet. We are working on PayPal and a number of other payment options, and so you will be able to collect money through PayPal into your PayPal account in the next few months, right? This is important for Tornello because Tornello as a business, I mean, we're a very generous, loving, chess-loving, community organization. We're giving people all the opportunities to do all these great things for tournaments at the moment for free, but in the long run, we do have to cover our costs as well, and we are a business we'd actually like to do more than cover our costs one day. And so the way that we do that is we partner with you as a tournament organizer, right? Every entry fee that you collect, we charge a small transaction fee. At the moment, because it's COVID times and everyone needs some help, we're charging 2.75% of your entry fee. So if you collect 100 units of your local currency, we'll get 2.75 units of your local currency. Okay. And so the more players that you get in your tournaments, the more entry fees that you can collect, the higher you can charge your entry fees, the better it is for us. All right. So in the long run, we're in business with you as tournament organizers to try and help you to generate like the best possible tournament, because only by having a great tournament will people come back and pay an entry fee again. Right. And that's the only way that we're collecting revenues, is to get a percentage of your entry fee, a very small percentage, so that we're able to run the business as well. So if you can't accept payments at the moment, you'll just have to leave that as payments not accepted. If you can create a Stripe account, and Stripe accounts are set up in your country, then you'll have the ability to collect money at the same time. If you can collect money, you just put the dollar amounts into these boxes, and you can have multiple entry fees. So you can have one entry fee for the Jedi and one for the Sith. You can even have a free entry fee for for club members or for grandmasters. So you can have all sorts of different types of entry fees. You can allow people to register but not pay at the same time. I don't recommend this one, because if you let somebody just register, they might change their mind later on. Whereas if you make them make a commitment, right, and say, look, I'm sorry, you have to pay for if you're going to play, like, don't tell me you're going to play and then not show up, right? That's annoying for all the organizers. You hate it when people don't show up when they said they were going to. And a good way of getting the commitment is to get the commitment, get them to pay for their entry fee. Right, so once you've got all of those set up, tournaments created, your entry fees are set up, any player who comes along to the tournament page, we'll see an enter now button. Okay, so this is the tournament page. They can see all the people who've already entered. They're like, oh, this looks like a pretty good tournament. I'm going to come along and sign in. And it's going to ask me then, you want to play? I'll enter the tournament now. And here you go. I can run through the process of entering for the tournament. So it's a 4-step process. I put my name, I choose my division and my entry fee. If there's any other information that the player, that you as the organizer need to know for the player, it will ask that information. Sometimes Tornello already knows this information, so it doesn't need to ask it. Right, there's the custom question that you asked. You wanted to know what's the favorite lightsaber color. Right, Tornello also always asks for a phone number and an email address. Right, why do we do this? Because you as the tournament organizer need it. You need it to build your database so you can communicate with these players and get them coming back next time, right? It also helps you during the tournament, where if you see a problem, you pick up the phone, you ring the person and say, hey, Alfredo, how come you're not in the tournament? Oh, sorry, I forgot. My cat got in the computer and I got distracted. So, you can actually interact and communicate with players. And then the final step is registration. And it says, okay, you've chosen the $5 entry fee. How are you going to pay, right? And you've got the ability to pay by when you're connecting to Stripe, Apple Pay, Google Pay, or you can pay by credit card, Visa or MasterCard or Amex. So any credit card, I know that again, in a lot of countries, they're doing like different types of payment systems. And over time, we'll be adding more and more payment systems to the platform so that you can collect money more easily from all of your players. I mean, so here I'm going to say, I don't want to pay now, I want to pay later on, and then I can enter into the tournament. Okay, so I've entered into the tournament. Let's just sign out. We don't need this person anymore. And you can see in our arbiter view, this player is now registered for the tournament. But they've registered for the tournament, but they haven't paid. So let's reload the pairings program. And we see that our player has registered here. We've got an invoice, but it's a red number. Red is bad, green is good. So green means they've paid, red means they haven't paid. So what we can do is go to the actual invoice itself and show you how you can manage payments using Tronello. So this is what we call an invoice page. An invoice is how you charge money and how you also record what money you've collected from the players. So here we have line items. And line items, you can add as many line items as you like, and you can put whatever you like on those line items. So maybe you want to charge $10 as a chess t-shirt. Okay. Now, the currency will always be the same as the currency that you set up your Stripe account. So if you have a Stripe account in US dollars, you charge in US dollars. If you have a Stripe account in Philippine pesos, you collect in pesos, right? So if it's Australian dollars, it's Australian. If it's euros or pounds, whatever it is, that's what it comes in as. So you can have line items, whatever you like. You can charge as many different line items as you want. If no money changes hands, right? So let's say somebody says, oh, I changed my mind, I don't want the t-shirt anymore. Then you can record a credit. Okay, so it's $10. Didn't want the t-shirt. Okay. And a credit is like a reverse charge. It doesn't mean that any money changed hands, right? They didn't give you $10 for the t-shirt and then you gave them $10 back. This is all just without an actual transaction taking place, without money changing hands. You charge them $10, then they said they changed their mind, and you say, okay, fine, I'll take that off your invoice. So you've got a record of all of that. You could put a discount in there for a sibling discount. Maybe there's a brother and a sister playing together. You're going to give a $1 discount for siblings playing together. Right? So all of your line items show up here. Your payments show up here. So if they make a payment online with the credit card details, it shows up here automatically. You could collect cash. If you collect cash, you can say, I collected cash. Collected on 7th of June. And you make a note. So again, it becomes transparent. So that can go to your treasurer, it can go to your boss, your staff can do it for you. You know where all the money's come and gone to. It's really important to have that accurate. Right? Let's say you collect some money and then you give the money back to them. Oh, actually, I took $5 out of my pocket and I physically gave them the cash. Okay, kid forgot his lunch. I gave him $5 cash. All right, there you go. I've literally handed over $5. Now, at the end, it sums it all up and it tells you how much that person owes. And then they can put a credit card details in here. So this invoice, you can then send that. All right, so this invoice, this is the person's name who owns the invoice, and we can just send that to them by clicking that button. All right, so I just click the button, that sends an email to the person who's got that, and it tells you when that email was sent. So if I just check in my email box, I will see an invoice. There you go. Whoops. In my email, I'll look at that. Payments required. It's emailed me straight away, tells me everything that's on there, and asks me for $5. So I can just pay the invoice now. Okay. So you can email it. You can email that invoice to anybody. Maybe they gave you the wrong email address. So they said, oh, I didn't get it. Can you send it to my grandmother? She's going to pay for me. Okay, no problems. Don't send the URL here because there's some private information on this page. And so we're going to send this link here. Right, this link here has got this password. You can see that it's got like this long string of numbers, which has got the word access token. And this is basically a password. So you can send this link to anybody. So I'll come as a guest user. I send that link to their grandmother. Their grandmother comes to the page. They don't need to be signed in, but you can see I'm not signed in. They can still put their credit card details and pay. Right? So you've made it easy for people to pay. Right? There's an entire industry, right, which thrives on the understanding that the easier it is for somebody to pay, the more likely that they will. All right? Whether you get 50 people or 150 people playing in your chess tournament can be simply how easy it is for them to enter the tournament. If you've got long, difficult, complicated registration forms, if you make it difficult to pay, there's a percentage of people that just simply won't join in. Right? If you make it simple, you'll get more people coming, right? So this is the invoicing side of things, how you collect money, how you can keep track. Maybe you want to add an extra $300 for some coaching, whatever it is, any way that you need to collect money, people can put their credit card details in, you can charge them, and the money then shows up in this column here, where you can see who's paid and who hasn't paid, right? At the end of the day, you want to end up with a tournament that looks like this. Look, everybody's green. Isn't that nice? Okay. Well, actually, there's one person who's not green. That's Oliver Cordova. But my son gets free entry in these tournaments because, you know, special treatment for having a dad who runs the tournaments. Okay, so here you go. Look at all these nice green lines. Right. So this is what you want to see in your tournaments. Everything green. Right. Everything green means this person is paid. After everyone's paid at the end of the tournament, maybe you want to actually see a financial report. You want to see, well, how much money did I collect? Where did it all go? Okay, and you can click financial report. You get a bit of a report. It tells you how many invoices are outstanding, how many were created, how much money. Okay, so all of your information is there. You can give that to your bookkeeper, your tax agents, whoever you need to deal with to reconcile all of your accounts. Okay, so that's the payment features in Tornello. People can register, they can pay, and then you can manage all of those payments using this invoice column here. We create an invoice if it hasn't been created, go to the invoice page, and I can add whatever line items I want on that invoice page. Okay, you can see for this invoice, I just created it new. I need to assign it to an email. So I need to give it to that person, and then it'll automatically email that person when I click the button. Okay, so we are, let's take some questions. I can see we've got a couple of questions in the chat. If there are any more questions, please throw them in the chat. Yezhina will forward them to me if there's, so we've got different questions. First question is about rules for divisions. We've got a lot of people asking questions about this sort of thing. Can you set up rules so that says, well, if your rating is over 1900, you're not allowed to play in this tournament. If your rating is over 1000, you can't play in this tournament. Gender rules, age rules, like under 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s. We don't have the ability to create all of those rules on divisions at the moment, but that is certainly something which is in the pipeline. And we've got other rule-based systems as well. So people want white lists or black lists. So they're saying, well, what if we only want people who are members of the National Federation to play in the tournament? Well, you'll be able to do that. Okay, you will be able to do that. So all of those things will be coming. So yeah, registrations based on different, whether that's age or rating are not possible yet, but they will be coming soon. Okay, Gopakuma, you've asked about the starting list. The start list in the pairings program, you always have to reload the page to see any changes. It should sort by rating, and there are two different ratings for players. You've got an estimated rating and initial rating. So the initial rating is the one that it always sorts by. If that's blank, then it will sort by an estimated rating. If they're both blank, then it will sort that player according to alphabetical by surname. So it should put, but it doesn't. There you go. It should do it alphabetical by surname. So Master Yoda should be below him. Let me just check. We definitely don't have a rating. There you go. If you need to manually adjust those, you can just just fudge it by saying, oh, I want this person just to have a rating of 1, and it'll sort them in.
That's only we are doing. We are putting as a initial rating for the players. Otherwise, it will not sorting according to the alphabetical. Order.
You can fudge that a little bit.
So we are making 99, 98 as
yes,
alphabetical order. Then we are doing the pairing. So
I'll check into that, and we'll get that one sorted by alphabetical order again. I think we made some changes about the players' names recently, because now so you can see in the tournament settings we have this new feature here on the rating side of things. You can show Tornello or FIDE. So at the moment this is by FIDE. So all of these players, this is their FIDE names. So you can see here's me, David Z. Cordova. This is my FIDE name. All right. This is Yezhina Prokopova, except that here it's Jirina Prokopova. Okay. So this is our FIDE names. This is exactly comes from the FIDE rating list. If I want to add a new player, I can do that. And if anybody knows a FIDE ID, let's just take Magnus's. I can just type in a FIDE ID, and it will give me the FIDE details of that player. Okay.
Even if they don't have a Tornello account, or they need to have a Tornello account?
They don't need a Tornello account. This is the entire FIDE ratings list is in here.
So for add a player, we just need to know their FIDE ID.
Correct. You just need their FIDE ID. You can type that FIDE ID in, or you can import the players by CSV into your tournament, and you just need a FIDE ID. Only FIDE ID, and then it will put all of the details straight from the FIDE ratings list. So when I search for Magnus, it's taking all of these things, not from Tornello, but from the FIDE rating list. Okay, so
you are solved very clearly one headache that we are faced so far.
Good. So actually, with all of these names, you can't change them because these are now FIDE names.
Yeah.
But let's say that I'm a player, David Z. Cordova. I don't like that. I like my name is just David Cordova, right? I don't want my name to be David Z. Cordova. Or Yizuna, she's got a special character. So if we change to Tornello, then when we're using Tornello profiles, now you can see all of the players' names have changed. So Yezhina is now Yezhinka. I'm now David Cordova, right? So all of the players' names will just be the Tornello player profile name, right? How they want to see it. Maybe in their local language, for example. Maybe I know, for example, Gopakuma in India, many people have got like names backwards and forwards, like first name, forename, that India's like in the FIDE list. I know India has like a lot of people mixed up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have the same. You can have like the Tornello names, the FIDE names. You can have two different profiles, right? So now you can see the Tornello profile will show you the FIDE ID, federation, rating, and still you can display it in Tornello according to Tornello names, or we can go back, we can display it according to FIDE names. And when you display according to FIDE names, then you're displaying according to FIDE names. Okay, titles and flags for the federation. In the next couple of days, we're going to put this for everything. Even Tornello names, you'll still get your flag, you still get your title. Because even though maybe Magnus wants to be called Maggie Carlson, I don't know, I'm not on that good terms with him, but he still wants his GM title, right? Even if he doesn't want his FIDE name to be displayed. So yeah, this is a new feature which we just made. So when we changed those names, that's why I think maybe I got the sort order I didn't check, so I can check that. Okay, we had a question. Are we planning to organize a series of events under the Tronello brand, for example, titled Tuesdays? So that's a good question, Michael. We're not really sure on that one. We're much more designed as a platform for organizers and arbiters. So we don't really want to get involved in running chess tournaments and being the brand where people come and play a tournament on Tronello. If you're a mega platform, it's a different story. Your business is to get as many members as possible, because some of them are going to give you premium membership and sign up, right? We don't want a million people playing chess on Tornello, right? That doesn't help us, right? We're not charging players a fee to play on Tornello. What we want is we want 1 or 100 or 1,000 really good organizers. Each of them has got 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 million players paying an entry fee to play in their tournaments. So I don't really want to be organizing a tournament like Title Tuesday and getting people to play on Tornello. I want tournament organizers to be running their own tournaments and having fantastic tournaments. So we might have to get the ball rolling and start running some tournaments as a way of showing people what's possible. But really, we're much happier to spend time with you and other organizers and other arbiters and show you how to run a really successful tournament, right? Because if we can get even one person making $1 million by running tournaments on Tornello, everybody wants to do it, right? So for us, it doesn't help us to have 1 million people on the platform, right? That helps the big guys, okay? People who have got their business is membership. They want 1 million people playing on their platform. So they want to do whatever they can to get people coming to their platform, including take your members, play on their platform, and then charge them a membership fee. And maybe if you're lucky, you get your 30% out of that. It's peanuts, right? So we don't want to do that. We want you to come here. We want you to make $1 million. We want you to be running, and if we can have 1,000 organizers, all being very successful on Tronello, that's our measure of success. So yeah, we've thought about that. It's a good question. We may have some practice tournaments on Tornello that just will let people get an experience of what it's like. But it's more for, how do we help you as an organizer and as an arbiter run a better tournament and have an easier time of it. And if we've trained all your players, because we have free practice tournaments every single day, that will make it easier for them to come and play in your tournaments, then that's probably something that we want to do. Not because it's getting us more players, but because it's making it easier for people to play in your tournaments. All right, any other questions about how to deal with the sort of finances and the money side of things, the business side of things in Tornello? Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the session today, this morning or this evening, depending on where you are. Eugenia, what's our next webinar coming up? When is it? And what is the topic? And how do people get involved in that?
Well, if I'm not counting the second version of this one, then we have one 5th of July, and it will be Introduction to Tornello. So if you want to know the basics, you can register here.
Great. So tornello.com/webinars. We'll do a repeat of this one on a different time zone. So tell all your friends that live in any of the US time zones. And then you can just scroll down and see all of the other events that we've got coming up. So what else is coming up?
If you are more interested in Tornello, and the introduction webinar is really just a short intro, and if you want to go through more thorough training, then you can apply to the certification program.
So the certification is a 2-day training. It's 10 hours, and over those 10 hours, you will go in depth into Tornello. Certified arbiters are also allowed to then run their own training courses and award official badges, Tornello arbiter badges, to their own arbiters. We then go into the end of July and August. We've got some other topics like Tornello for streamers, privacy and understanding privacy on Tornello. We've got Tornello for national federations and how we can manage ratings lists so that you can, in the same way as having here our add by FIDE ID and typing a FIDE ID. Imagine that your chess federation had add by chess federation ID, and you type in the Philippines Chess Federation ID, or the Turkish ID, or the Bulgarian ID, and all of the player data is just there straight away. All right, so we can manage all of the different rating systems and have those included on Tornello for federations. We've got our very popular fair play seminars. Make sure you book in early for that, because we can only get 300 people into one of these rooms. That's definitely a popular one. Tornello for FIDE rated events in October, and then we keep on going all the way through, lots of different interesting things until the end of the year, where we have our arbiter awards, and we're going to actually do an awards ceremony at the end of the year, our Tornello Arbiter of the Year Award, where hopefully it's somebody in this room. So anyway, that's what's coming up. We look forward to seeing you at some or all or a few of those events, depending on what you are interested in. If there's any help that we can provide you, please jump onto our Discord group. Okay, so we are now recommending people to jump onto our Discord group. We've got, we'll start here. We've got our Discord server here, and you can jump on there and you can communicate. You can ask for tech support. You can provide feature requests if there are things that you would like to see happening in Tronello. You can chat with other arbiters and find out how they're doing things as well. So that Discord server there is easy to use, free, and it's good fun as well. Lots of pictures of cats from time to time. I know people love a good cat picture. All right. I'm just trying to stall for time and go even more over time than we already are. 10 minutes over time, not too bad. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you spending your time and being with us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And we'll leave it at that. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, David. See you. See you, everybody.